Hello, today we are going to be talking about characterization. So if you want to know more about how to analyze a character in literature, stay tuned. So let's start off by talking about what characterization is. Characterization is a literary device used by a writer to display a character's physical characteristics, personality traits, motivations, private thoughts, and actions. When we analyze character in two ways. We think of indirect characterization and we think of direct characterization. So let's start with direct. Direct characterization is also known as explicit characterization, which consists of the author telling the audience what a character is like directly. So the author is going to use words like Susan is mean, Susan is tall, Susan is big or small. Basically, the narrator is telling you exactly what Susan is like. You don't have to make any guesses, right? Now, with indirect characterization, it's quite the opposite. You are going to infer what the character is like based off of what you're reading. You're based off the character's feelings and thoughts and emotions, based off of the character's actions. Okay? So that's direct versus indirect characterization. Moving right along, let's talk about the character's physical characteristics. A character's physical characteristics are made up of the visible appearance that a character looks like on the outside. So when we think about if a character is tall, short, if a character is light, dark, if a character is African American, or if a character is Hispanic, right? We are talking about the character's looks, how they appear to other people. On the other hand, a character's personality traits are quite different. A character's thoughts, feelings, behaviors, these are all the things that comprise a character's personality. In short, it's basically how a character acts, right? So if a character is always being mean to someone, we can conclude that that character has a mean personality. If the character is happy-go-lucky and just jumping around in a joyous mood, we can conclude that that character is a happy person. All of these actions make up a character's personality. So we call them personality traits. Now, when talking about point of view and perspective, it can get a little tricky because these words are sometimes used interchangeably, and you just have to kind of use your context clues to know when they are talking about which word at which time. So let's get into what perspective is. Perspective is the thoughts or attitudes that a character has towards a particular subject. Now, we all have a perspective. If I ask you which ice cream is better, you're going to have an opinion, right? You're going to say, of course, it's vanilla. Of course, it's chocolate, right? Because that's your perspective. It's your opinion or your attitude on a particular subject. And characters have perspectives about any topic that consists in a book, right? Now, on the other hand, we kind of confuse that word perspective because we say, what's your point of view? And you know what? Sometimes they actually mean, what is your perspective? But in literature, there's actually another way of thinking about POV, point of view. And that is the vantage point in which the author or narrator is telling a story. So in literature, we kind of think of two points of view. The first point of view is first person point of view, and the next point of view is third person point of view. So first person point of view is when the narrator is actually in the story as a character. So the story is told from the vantage point of one of the characters. And that character is using words like I, we, us, me, because they are actually taking part in the action of the story. So that's first person point of view. Now, third person point of view, the narrator is not a character in the story. Actually, the narrator is a spectator who's telling the story from a third person or from the vantage point of someone who is looking at the story from the outside. And they're using words like they, them, him. You get what I'm saying? Because they're not actually in the story. They're just telling the story as a spectator. And that's the difference between first person and third person point of view. Analyzing a character's motivation is really, really fun. Let's talk about it. Motive is the reason a character commits an action. And there are times when a character's motivation is evident to you as the reader. Now think about this. If someone or a character goes and steals bread from a store, well, we can automatically conclude that that character is hungry. That's pretty obvious to the reader. But there are going to be times when a character's motivation isn't as obvious. There are other times when the reader must make inferences or educated guesses as to what motivates the character based on the actions in the story. For example, if a character wants to break into a prison and save their family members who have been abducted by bad people, right? We can pretty much conclude just by their actions that they're motivated by love, right? So it's not something that's spelled out. Oh, the character loves their family, so, right? But it's something that you have to kind of make an inference from just by the character's actions or things that you're reading in the story. So the protagonist and the antagonist, pretty easy to distinguish, okay? The protagonist is the main character of the story in which all the actions follow. So the entire story is about this one character because this character is the protagonist, right? And the antagonist is whoever is opposing the protagonist. Now, when we have younger students, we like to tell them that the protagonist is the good guy and the antagonist is the bad guy. However, that train of thought kind of gets dropped the older you get because sometimes the main character or the protagonist is a bad guy. For example, take the movie Joker. The movie or the protagonist of that movie is the Joker and he is a bad guy, right? We couldn't call the cops who are opposing the Joker and trying to stop him from doing everything that he's doing the bad guys, could we? No. So we kind of have to drop that train of thought. So what I want you to do is I want you to remember it this way. Whoever the main character is the protagonist. And whoever is opposing that protagonist and causing some kind of a conflict is the antagonist. It's just that simple. Okay, now that we have learned about characterization, I want you guys to go and have a wonderful day. But before you go, please hit the like and subscribe button if you like this video and want to see more. Also, go on over to JWR Tutoring. I offer classes and tutoring. I'm happy to help whenever you need it. Have a wonderful day, you guys.